Hello, doctors and future doctors. Thank you for joining me for today's masterclass. Today's session offers information on how to deepen compassion for self and others, how to use these skills to enhance therapeutic relationships, as well as how to utilize breathing practices to self-regulate your own stress. So I developed 2 more masterclasses in this series, especially for you, for doctors, to give you the key mindfulness resilience tools within a short session time to suit your busy schedules. The goal of mindfulness practice is to find balance, restore well-being, and build resilience to stress, which is a really good place to start. It gives us theoretical understanding, a framework of understanding, set of attitudes to life, as well as really useful practices for stress reduction. My name is Bojana, otherwise known as Bo Connor. My area of work and also personal interest and practice is well-being and resilience. And I'm a lifelong learner, just like doctors are. And my background is in mindfulness teaching, psychotherapy, psychology, as well as running a well-being service for doctors facing severe distress. For the past several years, I've personally had great honor and privilege to support hundreds of doctors, and during which time I've gotten to know them both as professionals and as people. And I've developed a deep regard for the profession and for doctors as individuals. What I do know is that doctors are selflessly outward and focused on helping everyone. They rarely ask for any assistance, sometimes to the detriment of their own well-being, which is why I like to extend some care back at your way by offering some practical resilience tools for you to use in your life and work. So whenever I share information about mindfulness with doctors, I always like to start with their story or a question they may have. But for the purpose of this session, I'll tell you a story. So there was a doctor, and they were doing really, really well, and their community respected them, their family loves them, they love their work, so everything is going really well for them. And on a regular day, after a hard day's work, they arrive home tired, and they greet their family, their partner, and they spend some quality time with them. And then they take themselves off to rest. And the minute they enter their private space and close the door, they enter into the privacy of their own distress. So maybe they're gone to bed trying to sleep, but their head has just kicked in and started a monologue of what wasn't quite right that day, or what they didn't do right, or what they're yet to achieve, or regretting past mistakes, and so on and so forth. And the next day they get up ready to go to work, and they come down and greet their family, big smile on their face. They don't mention the tough night, they don't mention the private distress. They just get ready, head out, and then do it all over again. So this is a story of all human beings. Literally, everyone goes through this kind of private distress on a daily basis, thinking, what's wrong with me? I'm going to fail at that, or I'll never get there, or I am worried that ... We just go about feeling a little faulty, a little uneasy, thinking everyone else seems somehow fine. Maybe they've got it figured all out, but because you saw your colleagues' social posts, they seem really confident and happy, and there's probably something wrong with you because you're not quite there yet. So we don't realize that this is equally found across everyone, across all countries, and doctors and patients alike. So we're just walking about feeling like something is not quite right. So the reason why we feel gloomy and moody with these kind of questions on our mind, and when we're left to our own devices, we don't seem to have the best time, it's because of our perfectly healthy, normal, natural dispositions. We are wired to long-term survival, not short-term joy and bliss. So this is the reason why most of our automatic negative thoughts, which are, by the way, covered in Masterclass Managing Thoughts, what we perceive as thoughts, or negative thoughts of what's wrong with me, they're just benevolent function. They're alerts, innate templates, if you will, to prompt us to constantly check on our chances of long-term survival. This is a cognitive function of our basic survival mechanism, which is linked to our reptilian brain. So fully automatic, operated by the long-term memory, triggered all the time, part of our fight or flight response, aka everyday stress. So this phenomenon is actually recognized and defined by science as the negativity bias, which is a tendency to notice what is wrong first, to prioritize and scrutinize all negative information first, to enable us to fix any glitches as we go along. And this is the reason why we've not only survived, but evolved to be where we are. So we internalize and prioritize all negative comments from our primary caregivers. They always stay with us. And we zoom in on what's dangerous and alarming automatically. That's the priority. And so say you enter a hospital room, which is full of patients, and so do you spot the happiest patient first, or new decor, or someone who is really struggling? And when you receive performance feedback, do you notice the sea of positive comments, or do you zoom in on that one negative remark, single negative remark? So this is the reality of our disposition, what's wrong and what needs fixing, which is why we don't seem to have a great time much of the time, because our ancient reptilian brain is stressing us out. But without it, you couldn't be a doctor. Just imagine noticing the healthiest person first. It just wouldn't work. So all thoughts are automatic. All thoughts are stored in long-term memory. But all thoughts of negative scrutiny, including all self-judgment, all sorts of negative criticisms, worry, regrets, they all get prioritized. These are alerts. And anything which can be bracketed as what is wrong with you, me, environment, the world, those are the kind of thoughts of negative bias. So this is why we always discuss bad news first and report on these constantly. And but this is how we were made to be, and science is recognizing that we're wired in this way, and the purpose of this function is benevolent and essential. But then why? This seems to be our last taboo, because we openly discuss everything else. We're happy to offer our opinions freely, but private distress, which I lovingly call private hell, we keep very quiet about that. And so maybe we're embarrassed, thinking we're alone in this. Doctors especially like to keep their distress private and not to disturb anyone's expectations. And the issue is not in having thoughts, but believing in the I am faulty notion. That's the truth of me. It's when we get to compete to be our own worst critic all the time. So in all mindfulness courses I've delivered to date, the lowest score in the questionnaire is always given to the statement, I am kind to myself when things go wrong. I think it's prime time we end this taboo of negative kind of disturbing thoughts, thinking it's our truth, and self-berating, being proud of being our own worst critic. In today's session, I'd like to propose we consider a different stance, humanity, to understand and have regards for all of our systems which are sustaining our life, but to change our outlook. Definitely to allow some self-compassion, because you know what, if you would, no one else would ever know, because it's private. And people might just notice you're being a little lighter, and because we have dropped all the unnecessary burden and our lives can improve. So what's the worst thing that can happen? What we tend to do is, for example, to have a difficult thought such as, I'm not good enough, and then really believe in it and identify with it and get invested in it. And then someone asks us, how are you? And we just say, oh yeah, I'm good, thank you. So I'm not proposing we should start discussing what goes through our heads, because these are automatic thought prompts, so that there's no point anyway, doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, let's try and understand the basis of the functions of our system and learn to respect it as well as manage it. The primal brain, the reptilian brain, is here to stay. So we're geared to long-term survival. The critical prompts will always be there. It will never just stop and say, oh, you're fine now, we can relax, kick back. No, till our last breath will be prompt to check what's wrong with us. So we need to accept that thoughts are just thoughts, information, sometimes useful, sometimes not, but it's not the truth of us. Sometimes they're utterly random, depending on our information diet as well. I think we have no option but to ease the harsh attitude to ourselves, to have a little easier time when left on our own devices. And the masterclass on managing thoughts goes into depth about how to deal with automatic negative thoughts, especially with worry and regret, and how to manage stress arising from the automatic negative thoughts. So please, if you have time, do look over that session. For now, we can just reflect on and have some compassion on the shared human experience across everyone, doctors, patients, all human beings, that no one is exempt from inner suffering, because the irony of our inherent human condition is that our own survival mechanism is stressing us out. So how do we use mindfulness to calm down the overstimulated stress response? Here we get to one of the key practices. This practice uses breath, just natural breath, to calm down the nervous system. So practice of breathing anchor, it's really useful both to detach from the overactive mind and to calm down the nervous system by inducing the parasympathetic nervous system response, which is rest and digest. So simply by paying attention to breathing within the practice, we flick the switch between a reactive, stressed mind into a calming state, which is where the kind of brain rewiring occurs. We go from stress mode into being mode. So when you simply and deliberately pay attention to breathing, the natural rhythmic patterns of the breath, much like the sea wave, signals to the mind that the danger's over and we can relax now. So as I mentioned earlier, you can't tell the mind to be quiet, but the body can issue that command instead. So a breathing practice can reset our system, and if we do it on a regular basis, balancing the mind with mind analysis, with just being in the body, resting, that really helps in terms of stability of our overall systems. We're not prone to stress as much. So the only ingredients to this practice are just to be still and calm, because you can't really be running and trying to tell your mind to stop the stress response. So you find a place of calm where no one will disturb you for the next 10 minutes or so. And by the way, you don't have to really do long breathing practices at all. This is just my gift to you today for some relaxation. Anything would do. A few deep breaths throughout the day would do the same benefit for your rebalancing of the nervous system. So let's take a little breather together to rebalance and reset the system. By the way, if guided meditations are not your thing, if you don't enjoy that practice, you can always use just nature sounds like ocean waves. And if you just stay with that for about a minute or so and stay away from analysis and thinking, it should do the same benefit for your system as well. So there are just many options. But now we'll take some time to do this guided breathing meditation so that you can get a sense for what a formal mindfulness practice feels like. So if you just relax yourself into a comfortable position with your spine upright, dignified posture, alert yet relaxed. So feet are flat on the ground. You can put your hands in your lap or on your knees, wherever is most comfortable. So we can let shoulders drop down and let our face soften. See if we're clenching anywhere in the jaw, maybe clenching our teeth, and see if we can release that. And so we soften the muscles of the neck and face. And we take a moment here. So this is the space we've carved out for ourselves from the busy day, to just let go of everything outside of this space. Let go of the day so far, of anything that needs doing, planning. Just respectfully let go of any judgment, no expectations about yourself or this practice. Just allow the mind to settle into the body. You can even begin to listen to the beat of your heart. So the first thing we do is we take 2 deep conscious breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Here we go. And another one. And then just continue to breathe normally. So now you can bring your attention to your breath, to an area where you feel the breath the most, be it in your chest, or in your stomach, or in your nostrils. Just as you're naturally breathing, notice yourself sitting up taller on the inhale and rooting down deeper on the exhale. And purposefully see if you can let go of any tension from the body as you exhale. So, in, sitting up taller, and exhale, releasing a little tension. Just being curious as you observe where you can feel the breath the most, how the body expands and how it's dropping back down during a perfectly normal, natural breath. So now we'll take our attention and purposefully put it onto our nostrils, noticing the sensation of the air as it passes through the nostrils and any sensations we might feel there, any temperature. Perhaps the air feels cooler on the inhale and warm on the exhale. Just staying with that breathing observation for a couple of moments. And if the mind comes in with stories and analysis and planning and comments, and it does, because we always have thoughts, just respectfully acknowledge that and then take your attention back to your nostrils, to attending to your breathing, noticing the air, the quality, the fresh air filling your lungs on the inhale, and releasing the tension on the exhale. We now, from this focused attention on the nostrils, we are expanded to take in the entirety of our chest and stomach as well. And really observing that expansive feeling as you're breathing in. And relaxing as you're breathing out. And then we can extend the awareness even further to take in the entirety of the body. Just being sat on the chair, breathing. And as you do that, you can quickly check in with yourself. Is there any tension anywhere in the body, any stiffness, any uncomfortable sensation right now? And if you do notice any, again, just give yourself permission for this area to soften a little on your next exhale. You can begin to bring in a little sense of ease and calmness now on your inhales. And let go of any tension. Deliberately just let go of any tension on the exhale. And now on the next inhale, count the number of times that it takes you to inhale fully, and then use that same count for the exhale. And repeat this practice 5 times in your own time, starting now. Now just let the breath breathe itself naturally. And actually notice the softness of natural breathing, the quiet mind, and the stillness of the body. And now, as we slowly draw this practice to the close, if you just expand your awareness into the space around you, just beginning to notice any sounds in the room, far and near, and start wiggling your toes or fingers, moving your body a little bit. And when you're ready, just open up your eyes, fully refreshed. I do hope you have enjoyed this short practice with me. As I say, you can use any versions as you please. There is a sea of guided practices available for free everywhere, and there is no one size fits all. Sometimes just being in nature and breathing would do exactly the same thing, but we just need to be with it, just really aware to stay in nature and not get into analysis of anything. So let's get back into the topic of compassion next. So here we get to the best part of today's masterclass, which is compassion. How to truly and genuinely extend compassion for other people with mindfulness and beginner's mind. So what this means is that we can learn how to embody compassion through curiosity, which is an interesting way to do it. Because the best thing we can do compassionately for others is to honor everyone's unique experience within this thing called human drama. Because it's absolutely incredible that all of us have a completely different experience of suffering, distress, illness, stress, all of it, completely different experiences. Because our experiences are based on our inner events, as we saw, our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations. So no one is able to understand what things are truly like for us. And not only that, but most words are simply used as in an abstract way, like nouns, but people ascribe meaning to them, and different words have a completely different meaning to people. So, for example, let's take a word like care. I was in a room once of 50 or so people, and everyone was asked to describe what do they think being cared for is, to define it for themselves. So I had my own idea as to what I wanted to say, but as they were going around the room, I realized that every person had a completely different definition and idea of what does it mean to be cared for. And there were no two of the same answers. Someone said to be listened to, another person said to be embraced. It was absolutely astonishing. So that means that everybody has their own perception, not only perceptions, but also expectations of how they would like these things to be shown to them. And it's, by the way, it's really interesting the way we define things. We also expect others to do this in the same way for us. So expectations are based on different perceptions people have and their personal experience of everything, and a unique combination of biology, physiology, genetics, experience, their sensory preference. Depending on which sense works best for you, it literally drives your life experience. So say if you can hear really well but can't see too good, then hearing is preference for you. So you might like things verbally, being told, I care for you, rather than shown. it's really interesting. So the list is endless, and that's our human family, just the diversity of experiences. So everyone actually has their own version of reality. So this is where we get into the compassion side of things. I just became a little less precious about my own version of truth and pushing it on to other people. Because I've realized that we almost live in a little bubble within the bigger human family bubble. And everyone's got their own beautiful version of everything. No one has the ultimate say. No one is completely right. Yet everyone holds their truth, and every truth is valid. So personally, I had a less need to argue my points, and it's also given me a lot of respect and love and curiosity for other people. So I became really interested about, okay, so what was this like for you? What does this mean to you? All nouns are abstract nouns until we give them meaning. So love, care, compassion, all that will be understood differently by everyone. And this is the point where we stop assuming what things mean for other people, and we start asking questions. So when you genuinely become curious about other people, they actually sense it. And inevitably you build better rapport naturally, because it requires no effort. You just become curious, and people really sense that there is something, you're more present with them. So you start to ask more, and you assume less. And it's also not more fun not to assume that everyone's like you, because we're obviously different physically. No one looks the same, but what's brilliant is we're completely different from within as well as alike. So it's really fascinating to me. So to have true compassion for others is to honor their uniqueness and their unique experience. So in regards to the patients, this means that just not assuming that two patients will ever have the same experience of just because they've got the same condition. And when we look at people as numbers or just a crowd or group, they also pick up on this. Even on the phone, someone can pick up on whether you're really caring or not. Because bottom line is we're sentient beings, and so we kind of sense these things. So one of the good ways to use mindfulness concepts to kind of change this, to deepen your compassion for people, is to use concept of beginner's mind. Beginner's mind means no assumption, no prejudgment, pure curiosity, like as if you were a brand new person on the planet or a newborn, and you're finding everything really interesting and you're being curious. So please don't take this literally. I know you can't do this within your busy workplace, in the fast-paced environments of your work. But it is possible to arrive at each meeting of another person with a mindset of curiosity without any assumptions. So that doesn't require any extra time. It's just an attitude. So we mentally turn the page after meeting one person, and before we meet another, we just turn the page and say, this is a new meeting, and clear the slate for ourselves. And whenever you meet someone even twice, it's never the same meeting anyway, because that particular moment cannot be replicated. All those variables, circumstances, the way that person feels at the time, that they never repeat, and it's the same for you. So every moment is precious in that way. So if you arrive present and curious, and honor people as unique, I believe this is when it's truly felt that you're present for another. And this is felt by others, which is why true rapport is an attitude rather than time investment. And it is possible within moments to achieve rapport when you're genuinely interested in another person. Now, last but not least, how do we extend compassion to ourselves? That's a big taboo again, because, well, we've opened with a taboo of distressing thoughts in society, in humanity. And we're closing with a taboo of self-care, self-compassion, self-love. People don't really want to talk about this much. Oh well, I did say this is a private practice, mindfulness is, and no one will ever know if you're a little bit kinder to yourself. And it does pay off in the long run. So to really take care of your system of thoughts, body and emotions, we need to be able to balance our own inner experience on a daily basis, meaning not to just live in our heads all the time, but to remember the body and remember emotions. What we tend to ignore the most are emotions, and emotions are direct communication from the body. They often carry information about what goes in our mind, and so it's easy to use emotion to discern if you're not having a good time or having bad thoughts. So you only need to detect that stress is creeping up because you're feeling a little uneasy, and then you can retrace that emotion back to the thought to see what is stressing me out right now. So emotions are accurate, they're always present, you can trust them. Thoughts can be random, as you know, and really, really fast. So it's difficult to track thoughts for any kind of that kind of information. But working with emotions, if you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? You'll always know, you'll always get an answer. So this can inform our understanding about what goes on for us, and we can make decisions about our experiences. So this is why mindfulness is referred to as prevention for stress, because you're able to use the guidance of your own body system to know when stress is creeping up, and then make choices. So by taking few breaths only, that's enough. So we can purposefully just rebalance the system with a bit of 5-minute breathing practice. So it seems easy and trivial, but this is the rewiring that takes place. When you choose to do some breathing practice, that it just means you're choosing not to sit in stress. So when you trigger your resting mode, parasympathetic system, it switches you from being reactive to being non-reactive, to being someone who is relaxed and then can respond. So the neural research has shown that this is how new gray matter is developed through change in our reactivity to relaxation. So mindfulness practitioners knew this thousands of years ago, and I suppose we're catching up. But this is the good side of connectivity and the internet and everything else, because we're able to find out. So to balance your system of mind, emotion, body, just ask yourself on a daily basis, how am I doing? What do I need? And then just see to whatever you need. Go ahead and give yourself that. So it shouldn't be complex. Looking after ourselves in that way doesn't take any extra time. So mindfulness philosophy states that you have thoughts and you have emotions, you have a body, so you have the responsibility over all these parts. There is a reason why we are larger than the sum of all parts. Excuse me. Because they're contained within us. So when we neglect our body because we're sat in a really uncomfortable position for a very long time doing some difficult analytic work, we don't even notice that we have not stretched. We frequently do not even take a walk. So that's let alone thinking about what we eat and how we spend our time and rest. So the body is just carrying us and we need it. It's interesting how we need the body to carry us around, to do all the tasks, which are mind tasks. So here we just remember to honor all the different parts of us. And lastly, I would say just see the funny side of all of this. This is my personal preference. Because otherwise it gets a little bit depressing thinking, I've got this outdated, stressful brain that's prompting me to survival all the time. I see it as funny because it's really fast. It's almost primitive. I picture it as a caveman ancestor who's just rude, no good manners. It's just, they're not interested in that. So they barge in. So you have to go, no, thank you, not today. Everything is fine. I'm safe. Everybody's safe. No danger. I can relax. So I see it as a playful thing rather than an annoyance. And the other thing, as I mentioned in Masterclass on Thoughts, it's good to notice during routine tasks what our habitual loops of thoughts are, past or future, regrets or worries, and make those decisions as well on a daily basis to disentangle from that, because you'll free up a lot of time and space for yourself. In Masterclass on Thoughts, we go over how to actually disentangle from this experience of automatic thoughts. And bottom line is we have more choices than we are aware. But once we are aware of them, we can have a very different experience for ourselves, a better life, if you will. So because we already have awareness, we don't need to really train our awareness, but we just need to remember to use it. But definitely train our attention. So when we combine being aware with beginner's mind and a little bit of compassion and curiosity for ourselves, it's a really good position to be in regards to having a good life experience. So thank you for attending this mindfulness masterclass today. And if you do have any questions in regards to mindfulness, please don't be shy, get in touch. I'll reply to any questions. I like to be of assistance as much as I can. So I hope to see you soon and have a wonderful day.